Okay, all right. So let's start. There's one thing which I wanted to clarify. So there might be some doubt there. So look at this slide here. So let's say you are given a process. The size of the process is 2 to the power n bytes and the page size is 2 to the power m bytes. So you know how big a process is and how big a page is. Right, so we use the terms like memory is 1 byte addressable, memory is 2 byte addressable, 4 byte addressable. So what exactly is that? So let's assume the very basic case when the memory is 1 byte addressable. So always remember that your memory, it is divided into some things which are called words. Right? So in memory you have certain words. So when you say that word size is 1 byte, each word can contain 1 byte. So this is the simplest case. In this case, how many words you'll have in the memory? So you always look at your memory like a contiguous array of words, right? Word 0, word 1, word 2, so on and so forth. And this determines how many locations will there be in the memory. So in the first case, when word size is 1 byte, how many words will be there in the process? 2 to the power n words, right? And how many how many words will there be in the page? 2 to the power m words. 2 to the power n words, 2 to the power m words, right? So from now on, we'll be using this notion of words again and again so that the things are clear to you. So what we'll do now? So how will the virtual address look like? Can you tell me? So you have this entire process, right? This entire process has 2 raised to the power n words. You have divided it into page and each page is 2 to the power m words. So how many bits do you need to address a particular page? Basically for offset, how many bits do you need? M, right? And for the entire process, you need n bits here. For the page number, you need n minus m bits because there are 2 to the power n minus m or 2 to the power n divided by 2 to the power m pages. Okay, let's look at another case. So how will this picture change if word size become 2 bytes? Can you tell me? So your process size is still 2 to the power n bytes, but now each word it contains 2 bytes. So how will this change? So how many words do you have in the process now? So your entire process is 2 to the power n bytes. One word has 2 bytes. How many words do you have in the process? 2 to the power n minus 1, right? 2 to the power n divided by 2. How many words do you have in the page? 2 to the power m minus 1 words. So now if you look at this entire process, it has 2 to the power n minus 1 words, right? And each of the pages in this process, it is 2 to the power m minus 1 words. Right? So you're still going to access your memory based on words. So you're going to access word 0, word 1, word 2, so on and so forth. So how many bits will you use for this entire process now? N minus 1. Right? It will be based on words. So you have n minus 1 bits here, out of which n minus 1 you will use for offset and the remaining n minus 1 minus m minus 1. How much is it? So minus 1 cancels out. Still n minus m. Right? So you are going to use it for the pages. So the idea is the number of pages remain the same. You still have n minus 1. Okay. Okay. So similarly, you can calculate, right? What if your word size is 4 bytes? What if your word size is 2 to the power k bytes? So in case your word size is 2 to the power k bytes, how many words will be there in the process? 2 to the power n minus k. How many words will be there in one page? 2 to the power m minus k, and accordingly this number of bits will change. Right? I just wanted to clarify this. Okay, coming to the idea which we were discussing yesterday. So consider this picture. So let's say you have a process and this process has 8 pages. Right? So as of now, I do not care how big a process is. but there is this process and it has 8 pages. Let's say page 0 to page 7. Right? How many entries will be there in the page table? 8, right? So corresponding to each page, I should know in which memory frame is it stored. Right? Just a second. Yeah. So your page table will look something like this, right? Forget about what are these two things as of now. So this is how your page table looks like. So this page table, it has again 8 entries, one entry per page. So here you are going to tell where is your page number 0 map to. So which frame? Which frame is page number 1 map to? Which frame is page number 2 map to? So on and so forth, right? So what we did was, instead of representing this picture like this, so here we have 3 bits, right, for representing the page number. We broke it down in these two parts and we represented this picture as something like this. Right. So we said x equals to 1, y equals to 2. So for one table, use 1 bit. So I now have 2 entries here corresponding to 0 and 1. And both of these entries, they have a pointer. Pointer is nothing but a memory address. So it is giving you a memory address P0. This is giving you a memory address P1. What P0 has? P0 has this another table or another array, right, of size 4. So y is 2. So see what is happening, all these first bits here, right, based on this, I have sort of divided this page table in two parts. That is what is happening here. So all these based on this first bit, I divided it into two parts. So 0, 0, 0, 0 and 1, 1, 1, 1, right. So this entire first part, it corresponds to this 0 here, and all these frames, they go and sit into this second level array over here. Right. Similarly, corresponding to 1, I again have all these entries from 0, 0 and 1, 1 which sit here. So F4 to F7 will come here. And now the question is, why are we doing it? So why are we making it even more complicated? This page table, this array looks so simple. Corresponding to each page, it tells me what is the frame. So once I know the page, I can directly access which frame that page is sitting in. So why do I complicate this with the help of multiple arrays and pointers here? Any ideas? Why would someone want to do this? What I'm accomplishing by doing this? So look at it in terms of your normal data structures. Here I had one array. This array had 7 entries. What I did, I replaced this single array with a smaller array which just had 2 entries, and both of those 2 entries are pointers which are pointing to some other arrays. Why would you do that? Security. Okay, any other idea? So how exactly security?
When you're accessing it, you don't actually have the recurrent the pointer that you
But at the end, I still again here, right, have this entire thing. So let's say I have this page number 101, right? So previously what we would do, you have this one array, you would go to 101 and you'll directly get the frame number here. Now what you will do, corresponding to 101, 1 brings you to this pointer. For the remaining 01, you go to the second array and see the entry corresponding to 01. So you still get the same thing. Okay, so you are close. So we don't have to search this entire array in a sense. Uh, is it reducing your search space? Is it that? So see, I'm anyhow not accessing it sequentially, right? It's random, it's direct access, it's an array. So if you want the 7th value, access A7 in an array, right? You don't have to access all the elements from 0 to 6 and then you come to 7. You can directly go to that place. So here also, if you are given a page number 101, you can directly look up this entry in the array based on the index, right? So search still remains the same. Rather here, search becomes 2-step. So first of all, you based on 1, you come here, then you go to the second array and then look for the entry. So we have rather complicated the search here.
Retrieving the data to the separate processes. We have 2 pointers now. If you assign one, like data table to one unit and then second data table another unit. So it increases speed of the data table.
Okay, so probably you're talking in terms of, let's say there are some mini processes or segments, in that sense it might help. Okay. Okay. So see, the idea here is, if you look at this page table, right, it is one contiguous space. Right? Here what I am doing is, you are actually reducing the size of this bigger page table. Right? So what I am doing, I am basically reducing the size of everything. Here I had 7 entries, here you only have 2 entries. So see here, this entire thing, it will sit at the same place in the memory. It is an array, right? Contiguous memory allocation. So if you are storing, so definitely you are going to store page table also somewhere in the memory. Anything which you are going to use in your system, whether it's an input output process, anything, it has to sit somewhere in the physical memory. So the question is, where this page table will sit in the physical memory. So if you have this one big page table, right, will you allocate it memory contiguously? So in this particular case where you have one array, these are all these continuous entries. So they occupy contiguous space in the memory. You need a contiguous space of 7 entries. Let's say each entry here is 4 bytes. So it becomes 28 bytes in this case. So you need 28 bytes of contiguous memory. In the second case, what is happening here? You need only, for this first level array, you need how many bytes? You need 8 bytes of contiguous memory for this array. Again, this is a pointer. So this entire thing, you can store it somewhere else in the memory. Right? So the whole idea is, here this entire thing has to be at one place in the memory. Here all these 3 things, this array and this array, they can be present at different locations in the memory. And why would you do that? Why would you want to scatter it in different places in the memory? Same idea, why we wanted to break down a process and scatter it at different places in the memory. You might not have that much of contiguous memory in your system, right? If you remember this example which we discussed, so generally a process, it is given a 2 gigabyte of process space, considering page size of 2 KB and 32 frame bits. So we calculated that in this case, the size of your page table, it will be close to 2 MB. So 2 megabytes of page table, will you allocate it contiguous memory? So the idea is, how will you actually store a page table, right? So similar to a process, you wouldn't want to store a page table contiguously in the memory. So we want to break down our page table in different parts and scatter it all over the main memory. How do we do that? We'll talk about that in a while. This is the exact process how we do it. So we'll talk about it in detail. There is one more advantage it has. So one advantage is definitely better memory utilization. What another advantage it has? So when we discuss the idea of segmentation, the motivation was, there are a lot of virtual addresses here which are invalid corresponding to your heap and stack part. They might not be in use, right? So corresponding to all these entries, assume that all these entries in your page table are actually null. It's not mapping anywhere. So these are all those pages which do not map to any particular frame. So in the page table, you have all these entries as null. So if you talk about this single big page table, it is one array, right? It will need to have all these entries which are null, right? The space will still remain 28 bytes because you will have to store null there. It is an array, right? The size of an array is the size of each entity multiplied by how many entities, how many elements you have in the array. But if you store this page table in this form, so here if you see that corresponding to the second part of the page table, second block of the page table, everything here is null, right? So I can directly point this entire thing to null instead of pointing it to another array. So you save this entire space here. How much is this entire space? Something like 4 bytes into 4, 16 bytes. So you are storing that much space here. So whenever you have a page table, right, and let's say in page table you have several parts, and then there is this one part which is not mapped anywhere in your physical memory. So when you divide this page table in this, so corresponding to this particular part in the new table, so let's say this is part 0, part 1, part 2, part 3. So corresponding to part 3, instead of having a whole array, you can just have a null and save this space here. So this is generally what is used in our systems instead of segmentation, to save the space corresponding to those virtual addresses which are invalid. Okay. Okay. So let's see how it happens. Let's just generalize this idea. So we just now discussed the toy example where we had 8 pages and we saw how we can make it a 2-level page table, right? So let's generalize this idea. Assume you have a process of 2 to the power n words. So I don't care about how many bytes are there in one word as of now. It can be 1, 2, 4 or any number of bytes. You have a page. Each page is having 2 to the power k words. Right. So can you tell me the split up of your virtual address? How many bits will you use for offset and how many bits will you use for page number? K and n minus k, right? So it looks something like this. So we have an offset of k bits, we have a page number of n minus k bits. Right? What we'll do now is to implement the idea which we just discussed. Before that, how will the page table look like? How many entries will the page table have? In this particular case, assume that there is a single page table as of now. We are not dividing page table in further page tables. So how many entries will the page table have? 2 to the power n minus k, right? The number of pages. So we have 2 to the power n minus k entries here. Now we'll change these things slowly. So what we'll do is look at this address space. This is the not the address space. Look at this address layout. So what we'll do to this address layout, we'll change it to something like this. So what we have done is these n minus k bits which we were using for a page, we divide it in 2 parts. Simply 2 parts, x bits and y bits. So these k bits towards the right, they are still for your offset. And these bits which you are using for the page number, you divide it in 2 parts, x and y. Right? We'll soon talk about what does it signify, what x and y signifies here. Okay. Now, if you look at your page table corresponding to this, the one big page table, how will that look like? How many entries will that have in terms of x and y? 2 to the power x plus y, right? 2 to the power n minus k is nothing but x plus y. So we have 2 to the power x plus y entries here. What this x plus y signifies here? I can see this 2 to the power x plus y as 2 to the power x into 2 to the power y. What am I trying to say? Any idea? So let's take some values of x and y that might simplify it. So let's say the value of x is 1, let's say y is 2. Same as our previous example, right? X is 1, y is 2. How many entries we have? 2 to the power 3, 8 entries, similar to our previous example. If you look at those 8 entries, we are going to split them up. So previously these were our 8 entries in the page table. I'm sorry. Right. So 2 to the power x into 2 to the power y in this case become 2 to the power 1 into 2 to the power 2. Right. What is that representing? If you look at this 2 to the power 2, so if you look at this portion corresponding to 2 to the power 2, it gets repeated. Right. Blocks of 4. And it is repeating for each of these 2 bits here. So here, if you look at this 2 to the power y, you have these y bits here, right, which will go from 0 to 2 to the power y minus 1 in binary, and this entire thing will repeat, similar to how it is happening here. If you look at this 2 to the power 2, it goes from 0 to 3 and it repeats. Right? So it will go from 0 to 2 to the power y minus 1. It will again repeat from 0 to 2 to the power y minus 1. Again 0 to 2 to the power y minus 1. And how many times will it repeat? 2 to the power x times. So Here you'll have 0 for this entire thing. Here for this entire thing you have 1. Here for this entire thing you'll have something like 2 to the power x minus 1. And that is how we are going to split it up into multiple tables. So what will happen? This entire thing, this will become your outer table, which we were talking about, the smaller table, which will have now 2 to the power x entries. So we are now breaking this one table of 2 to the power x into 2 to the power y size, or these many entries, into two tables. The first table will have 2 to the power x entries from 0 to 2 to the power x minus 1. Corresponding to these entries, you'll have a pointer. So let's say P0 for this one, P1 for this one, P of 2 to the power x minus 1 for this one. And each of these pointers, they will be having these many entries. So this one having 2 to the power y entries, this one having 2 to the power y entries, so on and so forth. Right. So let me write it down on a new slide. So 2 to the power x plus y, these were the number of entries in the original page table. Now we have two tables. Outer table has 2 to the power x entries. Each entry points to a new table which has 2 to the power y entries. So this is first entry. There is another entry which will again point to a table having 2 to the power y entries, so on and so forth. So this is called a two-level page table. You can have multiple levels. So what if you decide to divide it into three parts? So let's say I make it 2 to the power x plus y plus z. So this entire address which you look at, so this one is the offset here, and this page number you divide it in three parts, x bits, y bits and z bits. Right? So your size of the one big page table will be, if it was only one level, 2 to the power x plus y plus z. These many entries would be there. Now what we'll do, we'll divide it into three tables. The first table will have 2 to the power x entries. Corresponding to each of these 2 to the power x entries, you'll have a new table which will have 2 to the power y entries, right? And again corresponding to each of the entries here, you'll have a new table which will have 2 to the power z entries. It might look a bit complicated now, so we'll discuss a few examples which will sort of make it more clear to you what is happening, and how do we even decide what is x, y and z. That also we have to talk about. Okay, so let's take an example for that. So let's say we have a 32 byte process, a 4 byte page size, and let's say your page table entry is 1 byte. Okay, what all can you tell me from here? So forget about the multi-level page table as of now. Other than that, what all can we infer from here? So if we look at the virtual address space, so this entire process, it is of 32 bytes, right? Each page is 4 bytes. How many pages will we have? 32 by 4, right? 8 pages. Okay. What about the page table? How will it look like? So this is the page table which is helping you do the mapping. How many entries will be there in the page table? 8. Right? We have 8 pages. So 8 entries in the page table. Each entry is 1 byte. Okay. Each entry of the page table is 1 byte. What does this tell you? Can you calculate the size of your physical memory from here? So page table entry tells you what? The frame number, right? So corresponding to the frame number, you have 1 byte. 1 byte is how many bits? 8 bits, right? So you now have the number of frame bits also. So to represent one frame in memory, you need 8 bits. So how many frames are there in your main memory? 2 to the power 8 frames, correct. 2 to the power 8 frames. What is the size of each frame? 4 bytes, right? Frame size is always same as the page size. Size of each frame is 4 byte. So you can calculate the size of your physical memory also from here. It's going to be 2 to the power 8 into 4 bytes. the size of your physical memory. Okay. Now, look at this page table. So the idea of multi-level paging is, if you look at this page table, right, I'm going to load this page table somewhere in memory, in this physical memory again, where you are storing this process. Same physical memory will at some place have that page table, and you know that this main memory here, it is divided into frames, right? So let's look at how many frames will this page table take if we were contiguously allocating it. What is the size of the page table? It has 8 entries. Each entry is 1 byte, right? So the size of this page table is 8 bytes, right? Size of one frame is 4 bytes. So how many frames will this page table take? It will take 2 frames, right? Now the point is, that's fine. The page table will take 2 frames in the memory. So now look at the page table, it has become similar to a process. Whatever we were doing with the process before, exactly the same thing you are doing with your entire page table. So now this page table, it needs 2 frames in the memory. The point is, we do not want those frames to be contiguous. Those frames can be anywhere, just like the process. Okay. So let's say this is the first page of the page table. So we are paging the page table instead of paging the process. So this is the first page of your page table, the second page of your page table, right? First page can go and sit in any frame, second page can go and sit in any frame. What do we need for managing this? So when we were doing the same thing with process, dividing a process into pages, and one page can go and sit in any frame, for that mapping we required a page table, right? Now we are paging the page table. P0 can go and sit in any frame, P1 can go and sit in any frame. For this mapping, we now need a page table for the page table. Right? So we are just recursively applying the same idea. Right? So let's say, let me just pick it up from here. Let's say this is your main memory. This P0, it goes and sit in some frame at some place. P1 goes and sit in some frame. Let's say it sits in frame 9, and let's say it sits in frame 2. So P0 sits in frame 9, P1 sits in frame 2. For that particular thing, we need another page table. So this is your page table, 4 page table, right? And how many entries will it have? How many entries will this page table have? 2, right? We have 2 pages, so it will have 2 entries. So one for your P0, where it is mapped frame number 9, this is mapped in frame number 2. So this page table now has 2 entries. So you got the same figure which we were discussing before. Okay, what about the size of this page table? So this page table is fine. It was not able to fit in one page, so we scattered it in the memory in 2 frames. What about this page table now? Will it fit in the memory in one page? So what is its size? So again, see, this is the frame number, right? Frame number is taking one byte, we have assumed, right? One page table entry is 1 byte. So this entry is 1 byte, this entry is 1 byte. So the size of this second page table here is 2 bytes. Will it fit in one page? So the page size is 4 bytes, right? So this page table, it will fit in one page, right? So what is happening now? Whenever a virtual address is generated, you will first go to this page table, right? Depending on how many bits it has. So if you look at your virtual address quickly, so this virtual address, did we write down a virtual address for this? Let's quickly do that. So how will a virtual address look like here? Page size is 4 bytes. So 2 bits offset, right? And how many bits for the page number? How many are remaining? So total is 5, right? So 3 bits were for the page number and 2 bits were for the offset. As of now, we need not worry about offset. So corresponding to these 3 bits of page number, we wanted a frame number, right? So let's say in this particular case, let's say I get the page number 101, right? So how will I compute the corresponding frame number? So I look at this first bit, which is 1. 1 is here. 1 maps to frame number 2, right? I'll go to frame number 2, which has your page number 1 of the page table loaded, and you will look up the corresponding entry for 01, right? So if you look at this address now, 3 bits, it is further divided into 1 bit and 2 bits, right? So this is your level 1 page table, this is your level 2 page table, and this is your offset. So first you'll go to level 1 page table. Based on this 1 bit here, right, you will go to the corresponding frame, and then based on these 2 bits here, you'll find the particular frame in your memory. Let's do one more example. Any doubts here? Okay. Let's say you have 2 to the power 15 pages. Page size is 2 kilobytes. Page table entry is 4 bytes. Okay. What all can you tell from here? Similar to the previous question. Again, this is your process. The process has 2 to the power 15 pages. Each page is 2 kilobytes. So how much is that? 2 to the power 11 bytes. Right? This is each page. So from here you can compute the size of your virtual memory. 2 to the power 15 into 2 to the power 11 bytes. Okay. What about the page table? How many entries will it have? 2 to the power 15 entries, right? Please note that it is 2 to the power 15 entries. It's not the size of your page table. These are the number of entries it will have, and each entry takes 4 bytes here. Right? So if you look at the 0th entry in your page table, it will take 4 bytes. Right? 4 bytes means 4 locations. Right? So the location 0, 1, 2, 3. You look at the second entry, it will again take 4 bytes. So on and so forth, there are 2 to the power 15 entries in the page table. Right? So what is the size of the page table? Two to the power 15 into 4. Right? 2 to the power 17, right? Correct me if I do a calculation mistake somewhere. Okay, so this is the size of your page table, which is 2 to the power 17 bytes. Now the question is, how to store this page table? Right, the same question which we had before. Will it fit in one frame? So one frame is 2 to the power 11 bytes, right? Frame size is same as the page size. So you have a page table of 2 to the power 17 bytes. One frame is 2 to the power 11 bytes, right? It won't fit in one frame. So the next question is to identify how many frames do you need for it. So let's write down. So your page table is 2 to the power 17 bytes. Page table entry is 2 to the power 2 bytes. What else? Page size is 2 to the power 11 bytes. Okay. So what is the number of pages in the page table? Two to the power 17 bytes. Page size is 2 to the power 11 bytes, right? 2 to the power 17 by 2 to the power 11. So there are 2 raised to the power 6 pages in your page table. Now each of these page will make it sit in any particular frame in the memory, and then we'll have another page table, right, which will account for this mapping here. Okay, before that, let's also quickly look at one thing. So how many entries can one page hold? So we also need to keep a track of this. What is the maximum number of entries we can have in one page? So see, each entry is 4 bytes. The size of a page is 2 to the power 11 bytes. Okay? So 2 to the power 11 by 4, which is 2 to the power 9. So at max in one page you can have 2 to the power 9 entries. Which entries are these? The corresponding frame numbers. So we are dividing the page table into multiple pages, and each of these pages they can have a maximum of 2 raised to the power 9 entries. Okay. Now look at these 2 to the power 6 pages in the page table. So each of these will be mapped to a particular frame. We'll put them in the memory, and then we'll have another page table which will keep a track of all these 2 to the power 6 pages. So it will have, 2 to the power 6 entries, and each entry will tell you where was the corresponding page, in which frame is it mapped. So what will be the size of this page table now? So again each entry is 4 bytes, right? 2 to the power 6 into 2 to the power 2, which is 2 to the power 8 bytes, right? Will it fit in one page? It can, right? So one page is 2 to the power 11 bytes, right? So this this page table, which is the first level page table, it can fit in one page, right? So we still have two level page table. Okay. And how will your address be broken down? So for offset you need how many bits? Page size is 2 to the power 11 bytes, right? So we need 11 bits for the offset, and how many bits do we need for the page number? We had 2 to the power 15 pages. Right? So 15 bits were there for the entire page number. Now we have broken it down into two page tables. So how many bits will go in the first one and how many in the second one? 6 and 9, right? So in the second one, we have seen that the maximum number of entries in one page was 2 to the power 9, right? So we can have these 9 bits in your second level page table, and you can have these 6 bits in the first level page table. If you remember, there were 2 to the power 6 entries here, right? So whenever you get a virtual address, you use these first 6 bits to look into this page table, the first level page table, which will tell you where do you find the corresponding frame in the second level page table. So you have these entries, then you look at these 9 bits, right? Those 9 bits here will tell you where the second page table is stored, and there you can get the corresponding frame number. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, so the same example, let's say you have 2 to the power 20 pages, your page size is 2 kilobytes, and one page table entry is 4 bytes. Can you do this and tell me what do you observe? See, it will be difficult to understand everything in the class because it is slightly involved. So just ensure that you get the concept right, you get the intuition and the basics right, and then try to do the same thing at your end. That's the best way to learn these things. Just give me 1 second, I'll be back. So how many levels will you need anyway? How many levels of page table will you need here? Will 2 suffice or will you need more? Okay, so if you look at the page table size here, it's going to be 2 to the power 22 bytes. So if you want to have like one big page table, it should have these many bytes, right? So what is the number of pages in this page table? Uh, what is the page size? 2 to the power 11, right? So you have 2 to the power 11 pages, which will go in different frames. Now I need a second page table to map all these 2 to the power 11 pages. So you have this second page table here. Corresponding to this each page, it will have an entry, which will hold the corresponding frame number. So 2 to the power 11 entries here. Each entry is again 4 bytes. So what is the size of this page table now? So let me write it as page table size 0, page table size 1. 2 to the power 11 into 1 entry is 4 bytes, right? 2 to the power 13 bytes, right? Now if you look at this page table for page table, its size is 2 to the power 13 bytes, right? Can it fit in one page? No, right? One page is only 2 to the power 11 bytes. So I'll even have to page this one and again keep it in frames. So I'll repeat the same procedure again. You divide this one also. So how many number of pages will you have now? 2 to the power 13 by 2 to the power 11, right? 4 pages. I'll have a third table now which will have 4 pages. Okay? So you require 3 levels of paging now. Okay? So take your time, think about it. When you go back, also think about how many bits you will need in the virtual address, right? How many bits for the level 1 page table, how many for level 2, how many for level 3. Uh, how much it will be? So offset is how much? Offset is 11, right? Yeah, so it's actually quite easy to see also. So see, your offset is 11 anyhow. So if you look at the maximum number of entries possible in one page, so see, when you look at that last level page table, we'll always keep it full, right? Every page will be completed here, and we have seen that every page can have a maximum of 2 to the power 9 entries. We did that in the previous numerical. It is the same, only the process size has changed, right? So it will be 11, 9, 9. We'll just keep going like this, and whatever remain will be for the first level. So you always start from the end. 11 for the offset. One page can have a maximum of 2 to the power 9 entries. So your last level page table, you will be using 9 bits for that. Then for the second one also, you'll be using 9, and for the remaining one, you can calculate by simply subtracting, or even looking at here. It has 4 pages, right? It has 4 entries. So for 4 entries, we need 2 bits. Okay, so enough with paging. I think now we put a full stop to the concept of paging. Let's discuss a bit about caching. So how exactly do we caching? How exactly do we do it? So till now we know this notion of caching, that whatever addresses or whatever content is being used again and again in the main memory, we bring it to the smaller memory which is faster, which is cache, right? So any idea how we implement caching, how we keep data in the cache? Have you studied it in the architecture course? So how exactly do you do caching? How do you store the data in cache? So let me give you an example. So let's say your main memory is 16 bytes. So again a toy example. Let's say your cache memory is 4 bytes. So cache and your main memory, this cache is going to be really fast, right? So whenever you're going to look for a data, you first look it in the cache. If you find it, that's a cache hit. If you don't find it, that's a cache miss, and then you go to the main memory. Okay, so we have these 16 bytes, so let me say 16 words, right? Let's use the notion of words from now on. So you have 16 words in the main memory from W0 to W15, and you can have 4 words in the cache, right? Any 4 words. You are using the data from this main memory. So let's say words 2, 4, 8 and 14, they are being used again and again, right? So how do you bring them to the cache, and how exactly do you manage things? Even if you don't know about it, take a guess. How would you do it if you had to do it? So I have given you this cache memory which can hold 4 words from your main memory. These are the 4 words which are being used again and again. So how will you store them in the cache? We can copy them directly. So let's say you keep word 2 here, word 4 here, word 8 here, word 14 here, right? So I have all these words sitting in the cache now. Now, let's say you have a physical address, right? Let's say the address is 8, right? How will you do this? So this is the address which is in an instruction which the CPU is trying to execute, right? So you have to first look for this address in the cache, right? You look for the address in the cache, not for the content. So W2, W4, W8, W15, W14, these are the contents. I'm done a mistake. Let me write it down this like this, right? These are the contents here. So there are these 4 contents which I have copied to the cache, right? These contents, they do not have any notion of at which address were they present in the main memory. So in the instruction, you actually see an address. And how do you search it in the cache now? Cache has the content, right? But I want a content which is at the address 8 in the main memory, right? You first go in the cache. So you'll also have to store their addresses, right? Let me represent it as WA, WB, so on and so forth, right? Just so that there is no confusion. So these are all the contents, right? So let's say WA was present at the second word, WB was present at 4th location, WC was 8. So we also need to store the location here, right? Something like 2, 4, 8, 14 here, right? We call this tag. So corresponding to the each location in the cache memory, you associate a tag. And now whenever CPU generates an address, you see 8 here, you search for 8 here. Yes, you have found 8 here. So you have WC, you can access it from here. In case it was not here, you would go to the main memory. How much time will it take? Is it efficient? Is it effective manner to access cache? What if your cache memory has, let's say, 1,000,000 words, right? It can hold 1,000,000 words, and at the last word you have this address which is 111. So the CPU generates this address 111. You are going to look for this address all the way till the end, right? And when you find this word, you access it from here. So do you see the time complexity here is order n? So the idea is to search any content in the cache, you'll have to look at the entire cache. Am I making sense? So each location of the cache, it has some content and it has an address, at which address that content is there in the main memory. So whenever you have an address, you'll start from top to bottom. You look at that address and then you go to the corresponding main memory if it is not there, right? So and look at the case of cache miss. It is going to be the worst case. The address is not at all there in the cache. So every time there's a cache miss, you look at this entire cache. You have to check for the entire cache. So any idea how we can reduce this effort so that we don't have to look at the entire cache? Can we do something smarter here? Come again? Okay, right. So if in some way we could associate the main memory addresses with the cache addresses, things would be way better. Right, so you look at a main memory address, that should somehow give you an idea of where it is in the cache memory. Right, and how do we do that? How do we associate? Exactly, right? So that is the idea, right? So to motivate this idea, look at what if the size of the cache it was same as the size of the main memory? There would be no problem, right? So let's say there are addresses from 0 to 15 here, 0 to 15 here. So whenever I have to store anything here, let's say something at address 13, you store it at the same address in the cache. That would be like a perfect association. So whenever you have a physical address, it is same as the cache address. Unfortunately, we cannot do that because the cache is small. So cache here only has 4 spaces, 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So how can we associate? So if you look at the main memory addresses 0, 1, 2, 3, you can directly map them to the cache, right? So whenever something is at the physical memory 0, you'll find it at the physical address 0 in the cache also. Something at address 3 in the physical memory, find it at address 3 in the cache also. But what if something is at address 4 in the main memory? I can cache it still at 0. Right, so you follow a round robin fashion. So main memory 0, 1, 2, 3 map to cache memory 0, 1, 2, 3. Main memory 4, 5, 6, 7 map it to cache memory 0, 1, 2, 3 again. Right? And 8, 9, 10, 11 again map it to 0, 1, 2, 3. So what are we essentially doing here? A modulus operator. So whenever you have any main memory location, you do 15 mode, whatever is the size of the cache for. And that is the location in the cache where you will map it. So this particular way in which you do this cache mapping, it is called direct mapping. Okay. What is the problem with it? Do you see?
Override various cache
Yes, right. So whenever I see a particular, let's say, address here, so there are many values basically which are mapping at the same place in cache, right? So 0, 4, 8, they are going to sit at the same place in the cache memory. So how do we resolve that issue? We'll discuss it tomorrow. This first one here, which we discussed, where we directly store all the addresses, it is called fully associative mapping. Can you write your attendance on a sheet of paper and give me?